TV, and my name is Tosin Akifolami. Thank you for staying tuned. And we have been carrying on the conversation as regards police brutality and extortion in our society today. What are the ways to ensure that this do not continue? We have had conversation with people, with veterans and comrades in the studio, and we will still be doing just that. We still have Mr. Segun Awosaya in the building. Thank you for your time, sir. And we have Mr. Okey Nwagunma in the studio. You're welcome, sir. Mr. Okey Nwagunma is the National Coordinator Network on Police Reform in Nigeria. You're welcome. Okay, as we get what has been happening over the weekend, killings and all that, what would you say is we can do to ensure that we promote justice and equity in law enforcement more generally?
Okay, first of all, it was worrying to me to hear about the killing of the young man in Lagos yesterday.
It was
over the weekend. And that killing was carried out by the unit called anti-cultism, not SARS, as some people have been, erroneously saying. But of course, you know why people are quick to accuse, because SARS has been the main, culprits in this type of, atrocities. I'm also happy to note that the Lagos State Police Command has taken the prompt action of arresting the culprits and has also promised to ensure that they are punished. In the past, our concern has always been that this type of thing happens, public outcry, police, makes promises. We were going to follow up on this, and I actually have spoken with the PRO this morning. He assures that he has confirmed that the killers are in their custody. We want to see that justice is served.
Okay.
They must be tried in the court of law for murder, and some compensation must be considered for the victim. Now, for me, it goes beyond just this single incident. This unit called anti-cultism has been very, very notorious in Lagos. And I want to give you an example, instance of what they go about in the pretext of clamping down on cultism. Raid neighborhoods, raid streets, arrest young people. There are cases where they arrest young people simply on account of their wearing a certain hairstyle. They raid places occupied by commercial sex workers, take them, detain them, all with the end of extorting money. The whole thing is about extortion. It's not about law, it's not about fighting crime. One case that I came to my attention recently was one in which a young man who just walked out from the computer village was apprehended and taken to anti-cultism. And when that case came to my attention, I called the OC. And he didn't pick my call. So I got some journalists to call. So when he saw that fire was on the mountain, what he did was call out the young man and ask him. Meanwhile, they had asked the young man to bring 80,000 naira for bail. So because of the call that were coming, he asked for the young man to bring whatever he had, that he was traveling that night. So the young man brought 5,000 and he quickly released him. And when calls came, he said there was no such person in his custody. So this tells you the extent of criminality going on in that unit called anti-cultism. And I think that the Lagos State Commissioner of Police should pay special attention to this unit. It's not we've been talking about SARS. There are all the other units are involved in similar atrocities. And I think that we need to continue to pay attention to these and such things. The only way the police can demonstrate their commitment to ending abuses is to ensuring that specific cases are dealt with so that it will serve as deterrent to others. Otherwise, if at the end of the day this is swept under the carpet, you're sure it will happen again.
All right, same question to you, Mr. Sege. How do we ensure that justice and equality by law enforcement is being in place? How do we ensure that this is the mode of our culture in Nigeria as a whole?
First thing first, like I keep saying, everything is bordered on law. What is the law of the land? What exactly is applicable? Right now, if you look deep into the Police Act and what is applicable, you see that there are some semblances of justification for some of the things that these people are doing, the way they operate, because they are not there for the people. They are not care. They don't care about the people. They are not serving anybody, and they are not accountable to anybody. Why else would somebody be so happy, trigger happy to shoot indiscriminately in an environment where there's no war, an environment where there's no breach of peace, except for that coming from the police officers? Now, if you look at the special anti-robbery, anti-kidnapping, or anti-cultism as it is set up, they have shown over the past 1 year or more, that they are not even ready to serve anybody other than to extort the people, to breach the public peace, and to make life difficult for innocent citizens in Nigeria. Because I don't see any reason why a special unit will now transmogrify itself to a point where they are to reduce themselves to fashion police, where they are now after people for their dressing, for their hairstyle, for the way they carry themselves, because they are young. Some people were just, because and we have evidence to show for it. There is no day in my life that I don't deal with over 15, 20, 30 cases from anti-cultism. And it's not because these people are cultists, it's because this is their excuse for harassing our citizens. Where there are cases, like for example in some areas in Bagada, where there were issues with cultists and all these things, they wait for those people to go. Yes. And they now come back to site and pick anything that has breath and occupied space. Anything that breathes in the area will be arrested, and then they will put bail on you. I have seen parents coming to call and to cry that their children have been arrested by these people, and they're asking them for money that they don't have. And after collecting money from these parents, there is no get out of jail free card that they'll give them that, okay, we will not arrest your children again tomorrow. But there's no such thing. Another team can arrest you next tomorrow. And this is why I keep maintaining that the entire buses owned by Nigerian Union of Road Transport Workers is not as much as what anti-kidnapping and anti-cultism have. Because if you see most of the buses, yellow buses out there, they are for them, and that's what they're using for their own businesses. And you see the biblical sums that they always demand from each person that they've harassed and they've tortured and they've beaten up for nothing. If they can't get your family to pay as at that moment, what they do is they transfer you to their criminal gang in task force. Task force will now legalize your abuse and pen you down without representation. No lawyer will be called. There is this jungle justice legal mobile court that they will put you in, who will be telling you to plead guilty so that you don't stay too long on the queue. Then they will now book you in and put you in prison, that your parents will come and pay 70, 80,000. And this is what we call a society. And this is how we want people to come and invest in our country.
All right, Mr. Segun, the description you just gave now is an experience an average youth out there encounters. On a daily basis. And a lot of people can attest to this. Yes. So I am an average youth and I am going through this. What are the instant solution I can take hold of to ensure that this is just not the normal thing that happens every day?
Instant solution here is this: know your rights. You have a right, a constitutionally backed right, to your freedom of association, freedom of movement. It's not a crime for you to go and relax at a spot. Okay. It's not a crime for you to go and drink with your friends. It's not a crime to have parties. It's not a time to wear a particular hairstyle or dress a particular way or do anything you want to do. You are free. You are not under oppression. You are not under a fiefdom. You are under a democracy. And if you find police officers harassing you or arresting you or pushing you around, please don't struggle with them or abuse them. Follow them to wherever they're taking you to and call. They will always give you that room to call. We will give you a number to call. We also scroll out different handles on Twitter that you can tag. You can tag Network on Police Reforms in Nigeria. You can tag Okey Nwagunma at Okey Nwagunma. You can tag at SegaLink. You can tag at Citizens_Gavel. You can tag, SAFE, that is Social Intervention Advocacy Foundation Nigeria on Twitter. Any one of these handles that you tag, will get us alerted and we engage immediately. We are actually faster than phone calls. So if you do that, we will engage in your case and call them to order. But I'm being positive, however measured, that the anti-cultism squad and anti-kidnapping squad and even SARS that are running amok, their days are numbered, and that this will not be a case. This will not continue beyond today. We are already engaging, and the authorities are responding, and we want to assure Nigerians that this will not happen again. This will mark the end of this impunity.
Thank you, Mr. Segun. Back to Mr. Okeguma. In a bid to ensure that this do not happen again, don't you think, sir, that it is time to start engaging, organizing protests and engaging in marches to ensure that Nigerians show their grievances against police brutality?
Well, I think that civil society and the media have a duty to, to lead the charge in pushing for an end to police abuse, to police brutality. So it's not just organizing marches.
Okay.
That is good, but we need to also. I mean, the kind of movement that my brother, Shega initiated, the ENDSARS movement. I mean, that was some sort of a civil society intervention.
Okay.
So those kind of things. So I think we continue to build on the momentum that ENDSARS, movement already, generated. And of course, continue to organize programs at every opportunity we have. We try to create awareness. Let citizens know what their rights are in the context of law enforcement, and also draw the attention of citizens to the limits of police powers. So the media also needs to be, for instance, something happens like what the case that we're talking about now, the killing. My concern is that today is in the media.
Exactly.
Tomorrow it's
no more.
So, but I think we should, on a constant basis, so that keep it, in the front burner. That way, it will be difficult for anybody to swoop it under the carpet. I mean, such issues like police go out there. How do you distinguish between, a group of people in an unmarked bus without any uniform? They see young people, they order them into the bus. You don't know whether they are kidnappers or police officers. And when they force you into the vehicle, they take you to the station, they beat you, they call you, if it's a woman, they call her a prostitute, if it's a man, they call you either Yahoo, or, and the ultimate thing is to extort money from. I think we need to continue to, hammer on this thing so that as long as it remains, they know that public attention is on these issues. It will help to, keep them on their toes.
Thank you very much. Mr. Segun, your view about that, sir? Yeah,
what we have done in the case, or in every case where we have police killing people, I call it astenomicide, where you have an authority who abuses power to kill, a citizen, an innocent citizen. So what is done in sane society is that civil society, like my boss has said, need to engage, because we are supposed to bridge the gap between the institutions and the people, so that there will be a trust. The bridge of trust will not be broken. We continue to, make it front burner, continue to let people understand, tell the story of that person until every citizen can feel the pain of that family. We tell the story from the friends of the guy involved. We tell the story from the angle of the child that he has left behind. We tell the story from the spouse or the person, the mother of the child of the son of the person, from the person that he's living with, from the father, from the parent, from the society where he lives in. So by that, you can feel the humanity that has been lost due to impunity. So until we begin to bring this to limelight, people will not be able to have ownership in the drive towards ending this. Because until people feel that it could be them or it could be anybody, they can't own that program, because they won't be in the room when you are, working on policies and all those things. But something must be out there for them to know that something is being done to stop this menace. And what we did, because we know that anytime you have police cases like this, they will organize themselves and come to your house, visit you, offer you this and offer you that, and you will forget your rights. What we did was to talk to the family and let them grant us access to represent them at the court of law and to file for a fundamental rights suit, against the police system itself. Because give or take, the police have to take responsibility. There's vicarious liability here. These people are working, they were police officers, carrying gun and working under instruction of somebody. Who are these people? Giving them the mandate to roam the street and pick our innocents, and who are these people? So it goes beyond punishing certain people or errand guys who are running the agenda of their masters. We need to get to the bottom of this, shut down this elite squad that are no longer representing our society or serving the people. And this is the way to go. So if we have any use for an elite squad, we will train them psychologically, mentally, and professionally. We know what we are putting out there, and then we give them the protocol. And when we need to see them, we don't see SWAT on the road in America, buying pure water and kidnapping boys. We don't see that happening. We see people who respond to distress calls, and who come in, fix the problem, and goes back in. And that's precisely what we're looking for here. If you have a anything special, there's nothing special about a guy wearing teru, carrying gun with slippers and then saying I will kill somebody today. That's primitive. That's an animal on the loose. So you can't have such going around our society and then somebody who kills somebody before hundreds of witnesses and police is telling us we want to try it and see whether they are guilty. That is an aberration coming from the system itself. So that is what we need to stand against by law. And we're lawfully engaging to ensure that justice is served. Kolade will not die in vain. And that's what we've been saying. And that's what we'll continue to say. And that's what we'll ensure happen in this case.
All right, Mr. Segun, some have called for more concerted efforts by the authorities to make it easier to fire dangerous policemen. And now these are the ones who pose a threat to our community. What is your reaction to this?
Well, that's it. We need to sanitize the recruitment into the police system. We should have the best of us, the best minds, the best hearts, the best people with interest of the nation at heart coming into the police system, not people who are looking for a job, who have nothing to do. You can't give somebody who is idle looking for money a police job. Police job is not a place where you make money. It's a place where you serve your country. Whether the government is paying you well or not, you know that you owe it to the people to serve them enough to ensure that when people are giving testimonies about the things that they encounter with police, you are proud to wear that uniform. And when people see you in uniform, they are willing and happy, more than able to take pictures with you to say, let me take a selfie with a police officer of my society. Because they are proud of your sacrifice, they are proud of what you're doing, and they are willing to be like you someday. But can we say the same thing in our society? Can we see a police officer without having a change of heart? Can we see a police officer without changing our mood? Can we see a police officer without feeling apprehension that we're going to be incriminated? Exactly what is going on. So our police is not actually mirroring our society. It's actually mirroring the demonic, social construct of our society, which means that everybody is just seeking out for themselves. And so people carrying gun are not responsible to anybody. So we're saying that the concerted efforts here is for the authorities to prioritize the trust of the people. Because how many are these police officers? If we decide to go on rampage and bring all of them down, it won't take us a week. Look at, we have over close to 190 million. We don't even know how many we are exactly. 190 million people, 200 million people, as against what? 5 million police? Are they up to 5 million? 500,000? Or thereabout? So if we decide to go on rampage on every police officer, we won't have anything called police in the next 1 week. So because of that, and that's why we've been doing what we've been doing with organizations like NOPRIN, Network on Police Reforms, to ensure that trust, that thin line of trust is not broken. Because once it's broken, to repair it will be very dangerous, it will be very hard. So when we see police officers, we should be proud of these men who are serving our nation or serving the people enough to bring sanity, law and order to society, not breach the law or break the law. You cannot be a law enforcer and be breaking the law or creating your own law as you go ahead, and that's what we don't want. So police should take this seriously. This is not a threat against the state or anything. It's a threat or a confrontation of impunity within the system.
All right, Mr. Nwaguma, what is your take on that? What's your reaction to the fact that dangerous policemen should be easily fired?
The point you made about the quality of people who find their way to the police is quite something that I want to highlight a little bit, because, it's not just speculating. The truth is that majority of those who are in the police today are people who don't see the police as a career path. People who enter the police simply because that was the only job available. And I have had opportunity to interview people who lined up to be screened, as police recruits. I ask them questions, why do you want to join the police? Job not there, And so you find a situation where people who are not even qualified to be in the police find their way, because all you need to do to enter the police is to pay a bribe to a certain person. By the time we return to democracy, or this semblance of a democracy in 1999, between 2001 and 2004, there was under President Obasanjo, there was this recruitment drive to make up for the shortfall that happened under military. Because throughout the period of military rule, there was no police recruitment. Police officers died, some resigned. We had less than 150,000, police officers in Nigeria. So there was a plan to, recruit 40,000 over a period of 4 years. Now, what happened after the first attempt? there were allegations that a lot of people paid bribe to enter the police. A lot of people who are in the police used forged documents or documents of other people.
Okay.
These are people who cannot spell their names or write their names. And so an audit was carried out. More than 50% of those who found their way into the police were found to have, come in with forged certificates. And these are people, and that is why, of course, training is part of the challenge. But you know what? There are people that are untrainable. A lot of these people are not trainable. They don't understand the basics of human rights, of what police investigation is. These are the people who are sent out every day by their superiors because of lack of funds to run basic operations. They send them out to make money through extortion. That is why you have all these cases of raids, arrest, detention, extortion, and all that. And it will stop until we address the roots. So for me, I think that basically when any officer is involved or responsible for any abuse, what is expected that officer must be processed through the law, must be charged to court for the offense he has committed. If it is extrajudicial killing, murder. Torture is also a criminal offense, but you don't see police officers being charged for torture, even when the Administration of Criminal Justice Act clearly prohibits and spells out penalties for torture. So it is the failure to bring to account officers responsible for this, that this impunity, this atmosphere of impunity has continued to encourage this thing to happen. So every officer involved in a violation must be dealt with according to law, even if it means dismissal. Until we keep dismissing them, until we rid the police of undesirable elements. Then when we now want to recruit, we'll be sure that we are recruiting the right people, that the procedure is not circumvented, because it's also the circumvention of the recruitment process that is enabling this situation where criminals and misfits, quoting Obasanjo, find their way into the police.
Thank you very much, Mr. Okechukwu. Now, Mr. Shegun, even with this act that is going to be passed on Tuesday, do you think, Mr. Okechukwu mentioned the fact that a lot of people bribed their way into being in the police force, and I actually read a report where the special cultism unit as well as seem to be a very special unit where people pay more to get into units like this. Do you think with this act that is going to be brought in on Tuesday, this kind of processes going on would be curbed at all?
First of all, like I always tell my tech people, technology don't solve problems.
Okay.
It is the people that solve the problem. Technology is just a tool. Bills don't solve problem. Bill is just a tool. Now it is the question now to us as citizens of Nigeria is, are we going to be willing to follow up and hold our government up to account enough to implement to the fullest this bill that is coming out? That is a question that we need to begin to ask ourselves. So it's not just about the bill is there, so miracles should be happening. No, we must follow through. We must know the bill. We must educate the people. All the CLOs, civil liberties organizations, all the organizations, all the organizations that we have, civil society group and all, must understand, get that bill. Look through the bill, begin to train people. Talk to market women, talk to Okada riders, talk to our youth, organize programs in universities, talk to all stakeholders. Then national orientation programs from the executive also, they should ensure that the people are educated. Get musicians on board, get a lot of people, hammer it into the heads of everybody. If you know the law, you know what is applicable, and you know your rights, no policeman will take advantage of you. Policemen are taking advantage of the fact that Nigerians don't know their rights. They don't, because we don't have money, we are being pauperized. Anytime we have a problem with the police, we just want to settle and go because we don't want wahala. And so that must stop. You understand? That must stop. And also we must fix the problem within the criminal justice system itself. Of course, prison is just a warehouse. It must turn to a rehabilitation center where people who are in prison can also be rehabilitated and be returned to the society, a better person. The judiciary, there are problems within that conundrum itself that because people don't go to court, they don't know what it is. So it's not popular. We need to begin to fight the problem within that system as well, because it can be as bad as that of what we have in the police. So once we fix all these things, and the citizens themselves are aware enough to engage the authorities based on the provision of that act, then we can start making or evaluating the progress that we're making. So it's not that there's a switch somewhere where a magic will happen, once the bill has been passed. No, we will still need to stand as citizens, as responsible citizens, to hold our people accountable, to make sure that police remains law-abiding. Because that law is addressing a lot of problems, including the ones you've mentioned, to the point where if followed to the letter, and with the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, we will totally, revitalize the police structure, and then Nigerians will have a better life and better society to live through.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Segun. I want to ask Mr. Okechukwu this question. I asked you earlier, and that's the fact that beside protesting, how can we ensure that no more Nigerian youth experiences this innocent killings, brutality from the police, extortion? How do we ensure that what happened over the weekend do not resurface anymore? How do we do that? I think
the first thing is for the police to demonstrate that they will not tolerate this type of thing happening.
Amongst them? The police?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is that the police must show, genuine commitment to, stopping or bringing an end to this type of, madness. Now, but, police alone cannot be trusted to deal with this type of thing. And that is why we have external civilian oversight bodies like the Police Service Commission, which for me has remained, grossly incompetent. And the reason is that the president continues to appoint the wrong people to head that very important external accountability mechanism until we strengthen the Police Service Commission, strengthen the National Human Rights Commission to take their, duties of holding the police to account and also promoting and defending the human rights of Nigerian citizens. But of course, as civil society, just like what we're doing here, it's also creating awareness. I think we need to continue to create awareness among citizens to resist this type of thing, to rise up against this type of thing, to report as promptly as this happens when this type of thing happens, so that organizations, like ours, the ENDSARS campaign, we will take up these things, But I think that we need to also support the effort to have that bill, that police reform bill passed. It will provide a legal framework to drive police reform. All along, every Inspector General of Police comes with his own reform program. He leaves office, another one comes, that one comes with the new. So there's no, no sustainability, there's no consistency. So the law, currently, the Police Act is a colonial law that came into force in 1943, predating the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It's no longer fit for purpose. It cannot bring about a democratic police. So what the bill has done is to try to address some of the the gaps in that law. Remove things like the discriminatory practices contained in the current Police Act. It also provides a framework for funding, linking funding with a policing plan, so that at the end of every year, it's possible to assess the performance of the police in a year based on the plan and how they have managed the little resources available to them. It also makes provision for alternative sources of funding to address this issue of perennial underfunding of the police. So I think we need to support the passage of that bill. It will be the first step forward in the long-drawn effort to reform the Nigerian police.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you. I just want to quickly ask this, Mr. Segun. I was listening to an analysis this morning, and as regards the occurrence that happened over the weekend, and people were calling for the names of the policemen. It was said that 3 policemen had been captured, but these names have not been released. And people have been asking, why is it that in situations like this, names are being withheld, but if they were criminals on the road, the same policemen would have paraded them on TV? What's your reaction to this, sir?
When people within their system are being culpable of a crime or so, they will deem them innocent until pronounced guilty. So they'll protect their interests, they'll protect their... In fact, if you see where those people are kept, you will know that they are not being treated as the innocent people being abducted on our streets and being deemed guilty until proven innocent and being demanded to pay, bribes or ransom before release. So these are the kind of things that you see, lopsidedness, and that's why we're going to court, instead of waiting for police to be a judge in their own case.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for joining us on this segment, and it has been enlightening, and we trust that by Tuesday we'll be smiling Nigerians and trusting that the future will be better. Thank you, Mr. Shengu. Thank you, Mr. Okechukwu.